A movement which turned teenage protest into a cult and gave the world such popular idols as Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious. Love it or loathe it, there's no doubt that punk gave many young people a form of escape which they enjoyed. But in a film that opens in London tonight, the people who engineered the punk craze reveal that they were taking the fans, the press and the record companies for a ride. It's called The Great Rock and Roll Swindle. Bernard Clark reports.
There's very little left of the Sex Pistols as they were. The shop at 430 King's Road, where they all came together, is no longer a punk headquarters. Their office in Piccadilly is closed now. The group fragmented in bitchy anarchy. The manager's been left penniless and bitter. All that's left is the film, which like a demon child struggled and somehow survived. It was the brainchild of Sex Pistols manager Malcolm McLaren, and it became known as the film that would never be finished. Writs or summons were issued by an amazing number of people, and at one time there was so much litigation around and so little money that McLaren and director Julian Temple were eventually locked out of this cutting room. Their mission, often and seriously stated, was to destroy rock and roll.
Well, I'm amazed that it got finished. That's, whenever I think about it, I think that is one of the main achievements from my side of things.
How difficult was it?
Well, if every film was like that, I certainly wouldn't make another one.
Hello, I've got a lesson 3 on the line. How to sell the swindle. Reverse charges. Will you accept the call?
Helen, find yourself a lawyer who has no interest in music, but is purely interested in making money. He's your main asset in developing the highest price and in illustrating to record companies the enormous potential of a band that can't play.
The legal problems, awkward enough in the making of any music film, become almost impossible once immersed in the Sex Pistols' anti-everything philosophy. The film is about how the Pistols and their management swindled the music world into paying them huge sums for contracts that the band rarely earned or honoured. And one of the lessons in the film was get a good lawyer. The irony is that during the actual shooting of the film, there was a gigantic battle to wrest control of the film away from Malcolm McLaren. Initially for one simple, everyday reason. It was alleged they hadn't paid their bills.
And the fact that we swindled almost £1 million out of the record industry.
Do you see it as a swindle? Do you feel that you did?
Oh yeah, I saw it as a swindle, all right. I mean, that's the most exciting thing in rock and roll, isn't it?
Just a swindle?
I mean, that excites a kid in Blackpool who's sitting on his arse with nothing to do other than work in a local bread factory.
Well, where did the £1 million go?
Well, it went on a few hot dinners, a lot of plane rides, a lot of mad shenanigans.
You had a good time?
I think we all had a very good time, and I think that the money was used in a variety of ways to keep that good time going.
Lesson 6. How to become the world's greatest tourist attraction.
Helen, never trust a hippie. Look for the current event. In our case, we chose the Jubilee and exploited it to the hilt. Band on the land, we decided to play our tribute to the Queen from the river. Between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m, the Sex Pistols played their songs beneath the bridges of London.
The film quite rightly shows how the group, without any real or even attempted talent, used provocation to win massive and valuable coverage from a scandalised popular press. We fell right into their hands. Such was their fame that in spite of their inabilities as musicians, the record industry fell over itself to sign up the band. we'd probably still be laughing, were it not for a tragically sinister side of the swindle, the real cost. 18 months ago, it could be found in New York. Sid Vicious was awaiting trial for the murder of his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. It was a murder so horrific in detail, only a very sick mind could have lived with the reality. The police, when I spoke to them, had no doubt about the murderer. We have the figurative smoking gun, they said. He died 2 months later of a heroin overdose. This is what he told me 5 weeks before his death.
How did this whole thing happen? Do you look back and think to yourself, how did it happen?
Yeah.
And what do you think made it happen?
It was meant to happen. Nancy always said she'd die before she was 21.
What would you like to happen now over the next, say, year or two?
I'd like to have fun.
What sort of fun?
Any kind of fun, just fun. That's my object in life.
Are you having fun at the moment?
Are you kidding? No, I'm not having fun at all.
Where would you like to be?
Under the ground.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was very difficult to get to do things, but he always used to say, if you plug me in, I can do anything. The problem was plugging him in, especially with his girlfriend being around in Paris. I mean, it was unfortunate in Paris because for some reason we chose to film in a Jewish ghetto, and which was a very picturesque area, but he insisted on the swastika emblem on his T-shirt, which is fair enough, but it caused horrendous problems on the streets. I mean, we had old ladies coming up in tears and weeping on the cameraman's shoulder saying, why are you involved with this? You know, this is horrific. Why? And the cameraman and Sid would be having goes at people who were looking at him, and the cameraman would say, oh, I've worked in the Congo, I've worked in Vietnam, I've worked here and there, but nothing. Sid Vicious is the worst I've ever, this kind of thing.
Did they try punching you at all?
Did Sid?
No, the people of Paris.
Well, yes, we had to hide Sid. We had to set up a shot, hide Sid in a hotel or in a car, get everything ready, try take one, whisk him out, get him back before any fights had occurred. He was a very excitable boy, you know.
Lesson 7. Cultivate hatred. It is your greatest asset. Force the public to hate you.
Here at home, create a tour that no one can turn up to.
Throw the group's name away and leave a question mark in its place. Create confusion. The Sex Pistols made sure they failed to turn up at certain venues.
Spreading false rumours wherever they could.
Come on, everybody! You know, we encouraged all those kids to travel all over the country without them ever having the slightest chance of seeing the band play. Who cares? But above all, we prevented the press from determining whether the band could actually play. And from questioning their now growing stature. Well, Helen, remember, we were now a legend.
In the end, the mixture had to explode. An excitable boy crashing down a manipulated publicity slope without brakes, egged on by the swindle, which had as its basis notoriety means money, and notoriety came from being as destructive as possible. What finally happened was Sid began to believe the fantasy. Stronger, less neurotic characters like Temple and McLaren knew where to stop. Sid Vicious, pulled and pushed by fame, went completely over the top. The swindle claimed its price.
And he was a guy that never saw a red light, as they say. Everything was always green.
However dangerous.
However dangerous.
Do you feel if he'd never met you, he might be alive today?
don't know. I don't know. You know,
What
he
effect
might
did
get
you
run
have on
over
him?
by a car. I don't know.
I can't believe it's my stood up there.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
The saddest thing of all is Sid Vicious probably didn't do it his way at all. He died at 21, a victim of just so many circumstances. Broken home, destructive management, groupie girlfriend, drugs and fame.
And every highway and more, much more than this, I did my way.
Sooner or later, the same idea will reoccur. Take a simple group, make them all bad, wait for the publicity, stand back and count in the cash. Perhaps what made the Sex Pistols unique was that they cared more for changing rock and roll than the money, and in some ways they succeeded. But to the cost of the swindle must be added more than just the money itself, and the one person who won't be at tonight's premiere.
The Great Rock and Roll Swindle, a film which opens in London tonight.